I wanted to say that, like writing poetry, like a lot of questions came up, how can writing poetry about nature make an impact?
Mhm.
But in truth, like you never know, the kind of impact we're already making. It's like we are, by writing and by speaking, we're already like, the more we talk about it, the more the focus is on the issue. And sometimes we use whatever is our predominant, voice to express that. So today we are going to read poems written for the Poetry Earthlings prompt on Only One Earth. As we know that on 5th of June we celebrate World Environment Day, and we have been celebrating it since the last 50 years. It's a movement, like a wake-up call to the rest of the world that, hey, you know what, our Earth needs our help, save the environment. So
Exactly.
this year's theme was, yeah. So this year's theme was Only One Earth. And I have been privileged to come across so many people, writing poems to the theme Only One Earth. I was a little like not sure, how this prompt is going to come across because it's a very, theme-centric prompt. But I was so like, I was amazed at the number of poems received and the quality and the beauty of poetry received for the prompt. And it's only my privilege to read them out loud. And thank you for the opportunity, you guys. We'll have fun and, we will have a good session today.
Yeah.
Yeah. Welcome, Kyla.
Thank you. Thank you so much for letting me join you today.
For everybody watching, I have with me Kayla. Kayla is a poet from Illinois, Chicago, right?
Yeah, so my name is Kayla, as she introduced me, and this is my first time doing this with her, so I'm very excited. I have some poems to share as well, two at the end of mine, so I'm looking forward to this.
I'll read the first poem. The poem is called Only One Earth, and it's by the poet who goes by the username Tattered Fish Poetry. We only have one Earth, but we seem to forget this as we strip her of her cloth of blue and green, as if it matters not. What will we miss most, I wonder, when she has gone? Nodding snowdrops marking the end of winter, the sun-dappled shade of an old oak tree, a butterfly as it flaps its patterned wings, the smile of a child as she takes in the wonder of it all. What will we miss most? The tune of songbirds getting ready for bed, grasshopper chirrups in the long grass, water burbling down a waterfall, the laughter of children playing in the pool down below. What will we miss most? The heady scent of wild garlic in the woods, the smell of roses growing in the garden, or a buttercup gifted with love. Do you like butter? Let's look and see. What will we miss most? The sweet taste of raspberries picked straight from the bush, strawberries, one for the tub, one for you, one for me, a sticky kiss, a small warm hand in mine. What will I miss most? The beauty we seem to take for granted, the food we eat, the shelter that keeps us safe, a future for you, my child, one with possibilities. We only have one Earth. She's clothed in blue and green. She looks after us. She looks after you. The time has come when we must look at her, look after her. We are a part of her. She's the only Earth. And without her, we cannot breathe. The beauty of this piece is that it's written from a mother's point of view, for her future child. It's like, we or people who came ahead of us, we won't be as impacted by our future generation. They will be the one, facing the brunt, and like we already have started to face the effects of climate change and global warming and the problems that our earth is already facing. They will be facing at way more extreme. Also, how her child will look at it. Like they will not hear the songbirds. They will not enjoy, the fresh picks from the garden or something.
Exactly.
And like, yeah, like more than anything, we have to think about our future generation because there's this famous quote which says that we only inherit the earth from our future generation, right?
Right, exactly. It was a beautiful poem. It was, and I like how like the nature and the earth was, personified. How you stated there, how it comes from the point of view of a mother. Alrighty, so this one is by Alan Hazadin. I'm sorry if I pronounced that wrong. Okay. History.
Yeah, it's all right.
History is written by winners. Her story written overseas. This creation in tears, filled with faint out of fear. What have we become? A story with no everlasting, an unending unnatural. Our planet spins, only darkness we see. Hatred, amongst bright beauty, we fail to grasp. Nature cries out, humans laugh back. She watches, the gods notice, nature wails. Only one earth, only one life. Are you there? Do you hear her cry? Do you care? Nature forgives. Do you? Of course not. Because we are a part of what's unnatural. We are guests and nothing more. Could be better, could sure, but we wait. It's all we can do for our planet to even the score.
Yeah, powerful lines.
Hmm.
Like a lot said in so less, and like it is indeed like, you know, it's like nature will forgive us, but do we still care, you know? We
Right.
don't.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And I like how,
yeah.
pretty much how, we are guests here and
Mm-hmm.
this, we should treat it with respect. You know how when you go to someone's house, you respect their home. So that being said, we should treat it with respect. That's why, in recent times, a lot of talk about pollution and how we can
So true.
like combat that change with everything.
Yeah, exactly. So this is the theme of, the page, Earthlings. So the idea is that we are here on this planet briefly and, like we are travelers and we are visitors.
Mhm.
And like you said, that if you're visitors somebody's house, we don't mistreat it.
Right.
And we don't, I think the more we put that, perspective out there, people will start to maybe to probably take a look and think differently that,
Yeah.
hey, you know what, we are visitors. We don't inherit, we only inherit the earth from our children, from the future. We need to like be mindful. I think like I hope that that particular thing, like point of view is, pushed so that people do rethink their actions. And
Mhm.
I think that is the part like writers and poets and poetry plays to bring that particular, like we are visionaries and dreamers and we think in a certain way. Like we talk about stuff like we are visitors and, like you mentioned how, we should treat place well if we contribute that way, like that's how I think poetry has such an important role to play,
Mhm.
and not just as regard the environment and the planet. Now, I'll read a poet who really inspires me, Starry, Laneim. So yeah, I'll read. Through all the blackness of space and through, it's true, the many miracles of gleaming spherical stars and the like. It's only been found just once, though admittedly by us and the earth, life. And how special were those circumstances, those of tectonic motions, uplifting, rifting and recycling, crashing and mangling of heavenly bodies to create this, and that we live in the moment when earth is earth, but yet we know how fragile, that life mingled in our waves, and billions of years dashed and trashed on life, and yet it kept coming back. But only after millions of years, we know this, we have seen this, touched the bones of eons, and yet cannot grasp that we are them, if we want to be, forgotten under a layer of plastic-lined sediment. Or we could take this trashing and evolve once more to caring, to learning about this only earth together as earthlings. So, like I just repeat this last para, which says that, it talks about how the earth was formed, everything, and how, like, look at, like, how synchronized our existence is. If one single thing did not fall into place, we would not have existed, as humans, because all the conditions came together so perfectly, and we are like a miracle in itself.
Mhm.
And we have to realize that, right? Uh, and then we don't. And we have just become what she calls forgotten under a layer of plastic-lined sediment,
Mm-hmm.
like literal, like it's a plastic world. Or we could take this trashing and evolve once more to caring, to learning about this only earth together as earthlings. Similar message about being visitors, about being a chance, illiteral, and how we need to be mindful. Take the blame, take responsibility for actions, and do something about it. Be mindful.
Yeah, and I think that's why a lot of like recycling has been going on. Even sometimes, like
So true.
if you're out on the street, they have like the different garbage cans with, the cans go here and then the garbage goes here, and I think that's really important. And that was
Exactly. Like, hmm,
sorry, sorry, and like you said, how everything just like coincides with nature and with the earth, and just like how the water is, and yes, it's really beautiful.
exactly. And like small things, like you said, trash can, like basic, daily activities. If we can just be mindful and just like small steps, and think about the planet before throwing the trash, I think that makes a hell lot of a difference,
Exactly, it
right?
does. It really.
Yeah,
Alrighty, so this one is by Claudia Poetry. Alrighty.
yeah.
Chernobyl, you still live your scars. A nuclear disaster in 1986. The damage still ongoing, never truly able to fix. The worst environmental disaster in history. Its complete devastation is plain to see. Nature burned to the ground, no blooming flowers or bird sounds. A city forever vanished. Homes and schools becomes human beings broke the rules. People covered in radiation dust. Pregnant mothers with babies lost. Young children embodying cancer cells and children dying from cancer as well. Recent tests, all these decades later, show high levels of radiation among cell generators. 500,000 personnel worked on decontamination to make the earth well. But after all that work, it has never been repaired. Still a barren nuclear wasteland that people lovingly once shared. You see, you cannot eradicate parts of this world and hope for a rebirth. This is it. This is her. There's only one earth.
I think she highlighted the one of the worst disasters, chemical man-made disasters in history, Chernobyl, right?
Mm-hmm.
And like and use that reference to remind us that this is what human action can do to the planet.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're not mindful, it could be another one of those episodes. And like it's like you present, this is the truth. Like if we don't do anything about our actions, if we don't control our chemical transmission and everything, nuclear reactions and stuff. So not be careful about how we use nuclear energy
Mm-hmm.
and everything. So it might lead to another disastrous episode or a incident like Chernobyl. Right. And
Yeah.
because you only have one Earth after all.
Right, and it's true. And this poem actually reminded me, when I read it, it reminded me of like the different zones. And I was looking at, it's a book with the different zones, and green zones are typically like within the United States. The green zones is typically like where it's healthier living, like better air quality, things of that nature. And they have a green zone over in California, and I thought that was so cool. I'm pretty sure I have some green zones near me too where I live, but I haven't done much research. But it took me back to that and how these green zones are just so important, you know,
Yeah.
um, so that we are not, inhaling whatever contamination that there is, even with cars and, just pollution in general.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And like more we need more forest cover, like the Amazon, I think it's a green zone, right? Like exactly. And with the war especially, because you can't ignore it,
Mhm.
the Ukraine wars, I mean I mean Chernobyl is right in Ukraine, right? So it's like the mention of that, I now especially with all the war and everything, I think we just need the reminder, like our we are still like we celebrating World Environment Day and World Earth Day and writing poetry, but at the same time we have a war going on which is unnecessary and useless. And like I mean the least we can do is prevent a war. I mean, we're already polluting and we're already creating problems by our daily actions, by not being mindful, basic, human etiquette. And then on top of that, we have a war. Like, if we can just not do away with it.
It's just basic human etiquette because it really is. Just etiquette. You don't. It's different things that we as people we can do to prevent some of these things. But it takes more than one person actually doing it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I think coming together, building communities, and taking collective action, that's more important.
Exactly.
Yeah. So I'll go ahead and I'll read the next poet. And this is a poem that really, like, I love it. It was written for the prompt, and it's a fictional take on the problem, but it gives out the message regardless. And it's a story of an astronaut. It's a fictional take on of an astronaut called Este, who wrote this poem supposedly on the last paper cup. So I'll read the poem. It's like a story, and it is by the poet who goes by the username storyteller underscore Shri Tama. Storyteller Shri Tama is the poet for this piece. Okay, I'll read. Mama says the day when I was born, a star fell on earth. She named me ST, unknown to the fact that I would someday live up to its worth. Days turn into night, seasons followed the trend upright, horse carts transition into mod wagons. Soon we took a leap to the Alpha Centauri, leaving behind the fairy tale dragons. I kept my word and hopped into the spacecraft, spending my youth searching for a safe haven to let life reboot. I aimed new planets and also the distant star. Proxima B and C gave me faint hope from afar. I dived into the oblivion to find life, snubbed the blue-green aurora, steering a brutal strife. And then that juncture struck me like a thunderbolt. I was stranded out of nowhere on our dearest moon in my space vault. I waited for any life to rise again that would hold my hands and put me out into the grey rain. I waited long for the summer to swelter me like a melting ice cream, so much so that my lips curled into some nasty slangs and let out a scream. I waited and waited for random people to break the traffic rules. Alas, but there were no sheriffs to stop the rule-breaking ghouls. The rolling meadows, the political chaos, the noisy neighbors, the violence and riots, the blue mountains and the age-old ethos, the charismatic Neptune and the eagerness for unexplored cosmos was now just a dream for me made of fragile glass. I can now feel my body dry up while I memorized his poetry that I sketched on the last paper cup. I embraced the abyss of the Empyrean universe. Instead, I should have been looking on earth for my lady love's blank verse. My eyes now tired with pain and blood shreds, paints an illusion of my dear abode, where my mama waits for me with my favorite peanut butter spreads. I'm dead now, and I know it. But dying on alien land? Is that right? The radio bickers, and the Chandrayaan hovers around my arm, while my body now decays in the lunar crater like a dead rat in a farm. It's been days now, maybe years, and I see no bones left anymore. I'm weightless, unlike before. I can fly, I can float, I'm omnipresent like God. Yet, I can't go into the light. Isn't that odd? Wondering why, the answer was whispered in your ears right at birth. Don't ever undermine the eternal truth that there is only one earth. Such a long poem, but such a beautiful one.
Yeah, it really was.
The way the story starts, it's like this person who's an astronaut, ST. She went into space to find better life conditions, better worlds, better than Earth. But then when she was there, she realized the beauty. She missed everything that was Earth, even the good and the bad both. And finally, when she died on foreign land, she was reminded of how the truth which was whispered, eternal truth, there's only one Earth, and there can't be any other planet like Earth.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, loved it. I'll read a poem by a poet called A Curious Mindscape. I feel life buzzing all around me, doves nesting on a broad leaf, while monkeys swing from wiry branches. Far away, shadowed from men's eyes, a holy grove that comes alive with a cacophony of sounds. So, in harmony, you cannot distinguish one from the other. A sudden, loud call, hush, there is someone creeping between the shrubs, searching for a prey. She's a mother, her cubs hidden in the thicket. The grove stills, waiting for her next move. I walk away, for something bright has caught my eye. A slender snake coiled around a branch. I spin in circles, trying to take in everything I can. Yet I miss so much. The march of an ant colony, maggots breathing through days-old carcass, the clear V formation of a bird flyover, a praying mantis hidden under a young leaf. So much life in such a tiny place. Would you be surprised if I tell you there are many like this grove, housing creatures you have never seen before? Come, they call out to you. Let me shield you from men's problems. Let me weave you a blanket of peace. And so we stay back and cherish every moment spent, till a four-limbed mechanical monster comes crashing through. The grove is now a flat land, laden with carcasses. The ones who survived watch with doleful eyes. Their home, once brimming with life, now is dead. We rip through nature, hacking it into thinner strips, and yet expect other species to survive. She welcomed us once with hands wide open, but we have taken so much and left behind the party spoils. A day will arrive when there shall be no holy groves, no animal a million types, and men shall wander through concrete jungles, blind to the lives he lost. He hasn't yet found his grove, so I wait till the time nears, good in Mother Nature's arms, watching the life go by, waiting, a mere child, hopeful that he may never find us or better, that he may arrive with a soul begging for some reprieve, then see what nature has to offer when man does not destroy her anymore. Yeah, so this poem is about how, men, how man's action impacted the universe so much that, the future is such that we are walking in a concrete jungle and there's no Mother Nature's arms to cocoon us. And in fact, he'll never, then that's when man realizes his folly. Like, we destroyed our own home. So I'll go ahead and I'll read the next piece. And it's called Only One Earth, and it's by Patricia Helen Reiter. Only One Earth. There's only one Earth, a generous gift to humankind, a gift of vast land, sea, and sky, crafted at the beginning of time, entitled Populations of Wealth abuse the earth thoughtlessly, knowing full well repercussions will doom generations yet to come. We must stop poisoning the earth. We must remove our chokehold and repair the damage we have done. If our grandchildren hope to grow old. Similar message about how, again, we have only one earth. And I think every poem written to the prompt has the same message because that's the purpose. But it's again constantly like the number of people talking about the problem. It's like everybody's talking about, which means the problem is it's affecting everybody, and what are we doing about it?
So this is another poem that I wrote. It's a haiku that I wrote. So
Yeah,
I'll
yeah.
read it twice. Alrighty. Only one earth blue, serene two, and birds wave two. Two birds hum to waves.
Yes, love it. I remember reading it and it spoke to me. Such a beautiful, again, a lot said in so less, the beauty of a haiku, right?
Mm-hmm. Maybe Karani. Alrighty. As one of the many children of loving Mother Earth, as one of the creations of our planet, the place of our birth, as one of the life forms existing in the world of diverse beauty, isn't it retrieving our fading environment our duty? To take birth on such a caring planet is a gift God sent. But activities we did to develop ourselves affected our environment. How long could we wait to correct our big mistake and retrieve our environment by purifying air, water, and land? And by protecting trees and animals, our counterparts on Earth, and help our affected environment rebirth. We have only one Earth that we could call home. Remember, we have only one Earth that we can call mother. We have only one Earth that we can call treasure. Then why should we destroy our only Earth ourselves? We, for sure, cannot go destroying our Earth's environment. We need to help it revive from its fall. And we need to stop our environment destroying activities. All for saving our only Earth is more important than our own technological development. Then why should we hesitate to stop these activities for a good environment? Let's reach true development by changing to saving Earth from exploding it. Let's start correcting ourselves right away. On this day, on this very day, the Environment Day.
So I will read one of the last poems of the live, and it's by a poet called Lillian underscore poems, and it was just a short piece written for the prompt. If only one Earth was loved, cherished, taken care of. Instead, she's neglected, not revered like the moon and the sun. Even the stars for that matter, instead, we carry on regardless, without a thought or a care, used and abused, tossed aside. If it was a person, we'd call it abuse, the one source, as we know, neglected. Like, I love the poem because you know what she said? It's like we pay so much attention to the moon and the sun and other planets, but we don't pay half the attention to our own Earth. And she said that the way we abuse the Earth, if it was a human being, we would have called it abuse. But we don't acknowledge our actions impacting the Earth. It's equal to abuse. It is abuse, but we don't, acknowledge that.
Yeah, and I agree. Like, I don't think half the people acknowledge what we do. So this one is by Inked by Mod. Alrighty. Will you still call it home if you find all of its trees gone? And the sweet melodies of the songbird are silenced under the debris of war. Will you still call it home? When the seas and rivers run dry, and your parched throat yearns for a drop of clean life, giving expier, tell me, will you still call it home? When the stars and the moon burst into the black hole, how will you then cast your wishes for abundance, love, and happiness? On the tail of the shooting star, will it still be home? If the air turns toxic and your breath is trapped inside your lungs, leaving you unable to exhale, across borders and continents, like a bird I can fly free, listening to the songs of spring in its valleys and hills. The notes reverberating through its orbit, where flowers bloom and winds murmur, and waves gently caress the sand in my toes, sunsets and sunrises. Colors of four seasons, given me selflessly, fulfilling my every need, where I can witness the miracle of a single leaf, emerging through the concrete. This earth I call my home, spins lazily on its axis, safe in the knowledge that I will return the favor, and I will do my every bit to clear the carbon footprint.
Yeah. So I'll read the last poem from my end. Yeah, it's called, it's by a poet called Thoughts and Poetic Forms. So I'll read this. It's called, again, written for Only One Earth. Only One Earth, years of advocacy. Slogan lived 50 with credibility. Conscious earthing voiced in collective rebirth. only one Earth. Climate and nature welfare actions worth. No game of sim Earth. Our environmental sustainability. Only one Earth. Years of advocacy. Slogan lived 50 with credibility. So the poet talks about the history of World Environment Day, how there has been this 50 years of advocacy, 50 years of this movement running, and collectively all Earthlings, they can use the word Earthlings in the poem, conscious Earthlings, voiced in collective rebirth, only one Earth. I love this line.
Okay. So my poem, I don't title my poems. I just stick to a genre of nature, love, and friendship. Alrighty. Be as beautiful as a leaf, ever evolving, ever adapting to the sounds of nature, the texture of nature, the smells of nature, a perfect complement to the tree. Together they complement the roots of their roots. They blossom and bloom to the sound of pouring rains. They flourish and flow to the sound of pouring rains. The beautiful system and cycle of nature reproducing and producing, reproducing and producing a product that has a perfect symmetry of lines that aligns with the greenery outside, a leaf.
Yeah, love it. All the beautiful poetry written for Earth and all the mindful reminders. Every single poem was talking about the same thing that, it's time to think, it's time to change, it's time to rethink, it's time to reverse climate change, it's time to, be mindful, and we can start right where we are. Like Kayla mentioned, right from thinking how do we disperse the trash to how like making sure that your city lies in a green zone, coming together collectively, doing something about it. So yeah, really like all the poems were speaking about like coming, giving us small insights on how we can, do our bit, right?
Mhm. Yeah, and I agree. I agree, and thank you all so much. And I greatly enjoyed, and appreciated joining you on this live today, and just reading everybody else's poetry as well as my own. It really relaxes me to read and listen about poetry, about nature and earth and just pleasant things.
Absolutely, absolutely.